Very thankful having you here on a podcast. Would love to know everything about it. I do have my own questions that came to me from clients that I would love to ask.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
So let us know, how did you get into it?
So, I actually started working for LegitScript. I was in charge of the healthcare merchant certification program many years ago. And post LegitScript, I became a chief compliance officer for a men's health telemedicine platform. And then I started consulting on my own. I figured it would be best. I started building out my compliance consulting firm. At first, I had some business partners, and then I became so popular in the telemedicine space that I kind of grew wings and went out on my own.
That's a perfect transition.
Yeah, it's made a lot of sense. And most recently, I guess the new project that I'm working on now is a compliance as a software platform for all those, marketing. I would say it's more for like marketing specific entities that don't understand medical compliance, but they're still seeking to follow those laws. And perhaps they can't outsource this to like a law firm. It's extremely costly. So I'm working on a new software to do that. It's actually an AI for state to state specific compliance guidelines regarding telemedicine specifically.
So let's start with like an introduction to LegitScript. Let's say we have a listener who is had a medical practice.
Yes.
They want to start advertising and they hear this word LegitScript. What is this?
Yeah, so LegitScript is a three-pronged certification. At first glance, what they're going to do is a compliance review of your entity. So let's say that you own a medical spa and you want somebody to let you know if you're operating within compliance. LegitScript is a perfect place to figure that out. So they're a great entity to do that compliance review. Second, and I would say this is something that's extremely important, is you need it to advertise on TikTok, Google, Meta, WhatsApp Business, LinkedIn, Microsoft, Netflix, YouTube, even on Groupon. So most recently, Groupon is only allowing medical practices that have LegitScript to purchase healthcare AdWords. It's not AdWords, it's like Groupons, because they want to ensure that they have a safe space for their clients to purchase Groupons on, and that they're like legitimate entities, healthcare entities. And then thirdly, if you're processing CNPs, which are card not present transactions, you're going to need LegitScript, either LegitScript or the NABP. And that the NABP more applies to pharmacies. So there are laws with MasterCard and Visa that specifically require you to have LegitScript certification in order for you to process the card not present transaction for like virtual healthcare. That's what LegitScript is. It's a three-pronged certification. It covers three subjects, and they're a compliance entity that is either going to make your practice extremely successful or potentially you're going to have to seek other resources to advertise.
Got it. So the process of LegitScript, why does it take so long? Like we have some clients who have been doing it trying to get it for a year and a half.
Yeah, I would say
And how long does it really
they don't
take
hire a consultant.
if you hire a consultant to help you with that?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I have worked with clients where it's taken 6 months to get them certified, unfortunately. And that was mostly I guess I don't like to like shift the blame to anyone, but that was mostly because they had a meeting with me, decided to pursue the certification on their own, and got caught in a catch 22 with LegitScript and then sought my help afterwards. So it's easier to be proactive and for me to assist you from the beginning rather than you move forward with a LegitScript application on your own, kind of make a mess of it, and then I have to clean it up, which I'm more than happy to do so. However, I prefer to be proactive. So the reason
I mean,
why
it makes
LegitScript,
sense.
it makes total sense, and that's why
It's like in anything else. You want to go faster? Well, find someone who's done it already to help you, guide you, hold your hand from the beginning to the end. I see it all the time too. They want to help with marketing. They come in, they get in the consultation, they hear the strategy, and then they go on their own. Then I hear from them a year later, they went through 3 different vendors trying to replicate the strategy. It didn't work. Well,
It happens all the
wonder why.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, by that time, time is money. Time is of the
Oh,
essence. And then you also have a lot of people that have their leadership team breathing down their neck, wanting results. Well, the best way to get results is going with the experts, going with somebody that has like a proven track record. At this moment, I have not worked with any entity that I haven't been able to get certified. And I've worked with medical spas, pharmacies, compounding pharmacies. I have worked with mental health entities, abortion care. I've done it all.
one of the questions that I have. So let's say it's a medical practice. They have 40 locations in the different places in the United States. They operate in from the same website, same domain name. How will that work for them? Do they need to get certification for every single actual physical space, or is it for entire brand?
Okay, that really depends on their marketing team and their strategy. And that's really what I would discuss with a client on a first call. If they have all these domains that redirect to their main website, they wouldn't need to get multiple certifications. But if they're going to have separate domains for each location, they do need to certify each location.
Okay, what about subdomains?
As well, they charge per subdomain. So it can be very expensive.
If it goes per subdomain.
Yeah.
Now, what about, let's say we do advertising on Facebook? There is no domains. People fill out the form.
You still have to have a live website in order for, so no, you wouldn't, if it was only on Facebook, like you had one domain and you don't have subdomains or redirects, LegitScript only charges per domain, not per Facebook. Like they're going to give you a seal of certification and also steps that you need to take once you achieve certification in order to be able to advertise on Facebook.
Got it. So domain subdomain is treated as a domain in itself. It's almost like an SEO world.
Exactly. So it really depends on like what your marketing team has been doing, how much you have invested, and what you really want to accomplish. But if you think about it, I think it's like $2,500 per website. Think about what each location is generating. And if you have a location that's not making you money, I mean, as a business owner, I would figure out how to remedy that first and foremost. But with all the costs I can think of running a business, $2,500 is not that much.
Besides GLP-1, what other medications do you see the LegitScript is being helpful with when it comes to advertising, specifically to medical wellness industry?
Absolutely. So men's health, women's health, so HRT, TRT, NAD plus is a big one right now. Everybody wants to be young and beautiful. And if they're not, they want to be able to look that way. So everybody wants to be skinny too or healthy. Longevity as well. I see that really coming up front and forward at the moment. And that goes hand in hand with young and beautiful and skinny, and then maintaining that. So
I remember now the Botox as well, even using the names.
yes, anything, if you're doing any sort of healthcare. So if you're advertising prescription drug words on LegitScript, and LegitScript just had, they just had like a webinar regarding med spas actually. And I would encourage people that, I mean, your listeners, if you have listeners that have been in a LegitScript loop, I'd actually be willing to look at what's going on with their application to help them free of cost initially, just to give them like a status of whether I think they're certifiable or not, or what steps they need to take in order to move forward. And just because I know you, I'd be willing to do that for them. Obviously, we'd have to get an NDA in place. But if you do have listeners that have been struggling with achieving LegitScript, I'd be happy to look at their application and let them know where they went, what's going on, actually, where they went wrong. And the reason why LegitScript can take that long is because it's a compliance review of your entity. So it depends on the depth and breadth of the application. If it's a very large application, like you just mentioned, if you have 30, 40 locations, imagine how many medical providers you have, all the locations, your C-suite, who the principals are, and then they have to comb through those domains, give you feedback. If you didn't have a consultant helping you figure out exactly what information to provide LegitScript with, I would say it's kind of like dealing with the FBI. Don't provide too much. Respond
Hmm.
only to the necessary information. You don't want to give them too much.
What do you see is happening with this whole GLP-1s being removed from ability to even prescribe?
Yeah, so you're still allowed to prescribe GLP-1s as long as it's branded. But there is a lawsuit in place. And if you have a 503B pharmacy that's a part of the lawsuit, you just have to find out who they are. I tend to steer clear of that because I am a telemedicine consultant and a compliance consultant. So I don't act as a pharmacy broker. Yeah, I don't give information on that. If I refer a pharmacy and perhaps one of the clinics doesn't have a good experience, then they relate that bad experience to me. So that's why I steer clear of that. But with some very light research, I'm sure you could find out who's a 503B compounding pharmacy, who's part of the lawsuit against some of the pharmaceutical entities, and move forward with a business relationship with them.
Yeah, it's an interesting shift is taking place right now with all of this, as
Absolutely.
a lot of patients get used to getting a medication from a specific med spa, and now they're hearing like, okay, this medication will no longer be available.
And would you like me to read exactly so I work with clients on a daily basis. I can read to you exactly what LegitScript is stating regarding tirzepatide.
Sure, yes.
So let's say you're seeking LegitScript certification. LegitScript is essentially responding this way. I'm going to read this verbatim to clients. The FDA's February 2025 guidance, and then they provide you a link, indicates a deadline of February 18th, 2025 for state licensed pharmacies under 503A of the FD&C Act to cease compounding, distributing, or dispensing tirzepatide injections, or until the date of the district court's decision on the plaintiff's preliminary injunction motion and outsourcing facilities OFA versus FDA, N.D.text, whichever is longer. And then they go on to ask the clinic to remove all compounded tirzepatide off of their website. So unless you can prove that you're working with that sort of pharmacy, you're not getting LegitScript certified. And that's what a consultant working with a consultant can help you figure out, because they know all those nuances. They're experts. They can help you figure out what you need to remove from your website, how to explain. LegitScript also uses different search tools. As you can imagine, if you're doing audits of companies, then you need to use different search tools. So working with a consultant can also help you in that way, where they're going to audit everything regarding your business and its practices according to LegitScript certification standards. Have you ever seen those? Have you read through them?
No, I personally did not.
Okay, so right on LegitScript's website, if you click on healthcare and then you go over to, you scroll down to where there's like a fact sheet, process, pricing, you click on certification standards. This is what they're going to certify you based upon. And I believe there's 12 of them. There's registration and compliance, internal practices, and external practices.
So, Gabby, what would be the way for someone to contact you and get help?
Well, they could email me. It's Gabby, Gaby, at jctelemedicine.com.
Is there any phone number they can call?
Yeah, sure. They can just text me at 971-336-6448. And that's my business line. They can also write to me on WhatsApp. I love business WhatsApp. So it's a great tool. Same phone number, by the way.
It's very straightforward.
Yes.
You want to do it fast? connect with someone who knows how.
Yeah, and Alex as well. I would say connect with.
Yeah, we definitely can help with marketing and getting patients. But like I said, what we noticed from all our clients, the one who go fast and have volume and better quality is clinics that have been certified.
Yeah, and achieving that certification can be a huge undertaking. Why would you want to do that alone?
Oh, there's so much clinic owner have to do day to day to make sure the front desk do their job, the injectors, the advisors, the medical team do what needs to be done. There's a money in the business, the compliance. There's so
There's so
much.
much to do. And I think that I've been so successful at being a consultant, Alex, because I don't just work business hours. So I think that's something important for people to know. I know you have a business to run. I'm available very odd hours. At times, I've worked with clients till midnight, 1 a.m. I work with pharmacists, I work with entrepreneurs, I work with marketing people, I work with physicians, entire like medical groups. So you're running a business from 9 to 5 or perhaps 7 to 8. I'm available odd hours. Maybe you're not, you're available very early in the morning or very late at night. So I make sure that I accommodate my hours to my clients' needs.
Oh, thank you, Gabby. This is actually amazing. I think a lot of our clients would find it very helpful,
Yes,
and hopefully they'll reach out. I'll facilitate some of those connections too.
absolutely. Like I said, you mentioned you have a few clients that have had some challenges. I'd love to introduce me to them. Let's get an NDA in place, and I'd love to take a look at their situation and assess of like a path forward for them. How to come into compliance to achieve certification so that they can ultimately get those leads that they need, those patients they need.